Okay.
Can you hear my cat?
Can I what?
Yeah, that's fine. Don't worry.
Okay. Yeah, and we can edit out this. I mean, we usually edit out this beginning part. So if you have any other
Okay.
questions, um, welcome to another listener episode of the podcast. Hal, it is such an honor to have you on the show, and we're really grateful that you're coming on to share your story all the way from the UK. So, welcome. And could you just start off by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's just such an honor to be here. So my name is Hal. I'm originally from Brazil, but I've been living here for nearly 17 years. Um, London is my home now, and I'm here because, like, pretty much I've had two breakups in 2 years. So yeah, and your podcast helped me a lot, and I thought about sharing my story, and just being a tiny little bit a part of this beautiful podcast that's helping other people going through the same stuff.
Oh, well, we're very happy to have you on. And I think that's going to be a big element of today's story is the two breakups in 2 years. And I know obviously there are going to be a lot of people listening who have gone through that and are going to be able to relate to multiple parts of this story. So do you want to just start off by giving, I guess, the Cliff Notes version of both relationships that you were in? And I know one was a very long-term relationship and the other one was intense. And it's the same, like long term, shorter, it doesn't really matter because every relationship's going to hit us in a different way.
Yeah. Okay, so the first relationship, I was actually married to my ex. We were together for nearly 13 years. And we met when we were in our early 20s. We grew up together pretty much. The second relationship was a rebound relationship. I wasn't ready for a relationship. Neither was he, especially. Um, but then I just ignored the red flags because I just was scared of being alone. And, at one point I just had enough and I needed to leave in both relationships. There were like similar patterns. And, I'm just happy that I managed to actually see the patterns in the second one, but still, it still hurts.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, of course, and that's why people often ask when it's appropriate to start dating again, and I can never give. I think people are looking for X amount of months or a very particular time frame, which I'm just not able to give because it really depends on the person, but the biggest risk that you run by dating and getting into something early is exactly what happened with you. It's if I've used this comparison before, but if you're drowning and someone hands you a life raft, you don't care what color the life raft is, where it's been, like you don't care about any of that. You're just grabbing onto it. And it's if you feel like you're drowning in your heartbreak and a person shows up that wants to be with you, you want to be with them, it's like you're gonna cling on to them and not really take a pause and consider if it's good for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. My sense of judgment wasn't the best, and there were red flags everywhere. But I chose to not see them. I mean, I could see them. I chose to ignore them in order to have someone to be with someone. It was
Yeah.
very difficult to go from, being with someone for nearly 13 years to then being by yourself and having to do things like that was pretty much like most of my adult life.
Yeah.
And then you just by yourself, you don't know what to do. You try to distract yourself when you're hooking up and whatever, but that's not really um, who I am. And then I started dating this guy, and then that happened. And, we just like, there was a lot of toxicity, you
Yeah.
know.
So let's go back a little bit, if you don't mind, to the 13-year your marriage and
Yeah.
what. So you mentioned that you walked away from both, which I hope you can recognize that it's like, even if you are in something that's not serving you, you did walk away, which is great. You know, a lot of people can stay their entire lives in relationships that aren't serving them. So I think that's like a huge win right off the bat. So what led you to walk away from that? And especially if you have a big fear of being alone, which maybe you didn't recognize that until you left the marriage, but it has to be something that really propels you into that, if you do have that fear of being alone.
Should I talk about the first relationship or the second?
Yeah, let's do yeah, let's start with the first and then kind of we can go into the second.
Sure. So you know, at the beginning, we're in our early 20s, was smitten. We were, in love with each other. There was a lot of like similarities. We're both the same age. We both came from, we were trauma bonded as well. You
Mm,
know, we both came from broken homes and we both had like a lot of healing to do. So I do believe that we kind of helped heal from like a lot of our pains from the past. Um, but then, a lot was happening, red flags, and then you choose to ignore. There was an indiscretion from his part that happened, and we nearly broke up. There was 4 or 5 years into the relationship. I had to get I had to get over that pain by myself,
mm,
and then I kept it for like 8 years. It wasn't healthy at all because I was harboring a lot of anger and resentment, and I couldn't see that. And then when things were like, it was just bubbling up. And then I was like, the communication wasn't happening. I was like, hey, you can't do this. Like, hey, you can't treat me like that. But there was no communication. And then I started doing therapy actually because I thought, oh, let me save this marriage. I thought there's something wrong with me. Started doing therapy. Then little by little, it was just like I put my glasses on and I could see things clearer. And then I was like, okay, this is not right. That's not right. That's not right. And I was trying to communicate, but it wasn't really happening. And then that's when I thought, I cannot do this anymore.
mm,
Then he didn't take it very well. And he took it like, he started using the assets and the money that we shared in the apartment against me, which is
mm.
like it was like it was being not only emotionally abusive but financially abusive.
Yeah.
Um, so that was nearly 2 years ago, and I was like, I lost weight, and I was extremely like, I was at the bottom of that I've ever been. It was like the lowest point of my life. Um, I was very vulnerable. I was like, I just wasn't well. I couldn't discern properly, you know. I allowed that to happen to me for too long.
Mm,
Um, it was just like one of the worst experiences of my life because like I tried to stay friends with him as in because we even did therapy sessions together to end well and to be friends, but he made his choice and I had to just like stay away. Um, then we had like the divorce settlement and then the financial abuse and then the whole bit. We had to like almost go to court due to assets and then the financial side of it. It was very, very long. It was extremely draining. And when you're vulnerable, then sometimes you allow the wrong people to get closer to you.
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then that is when I met my second ex.
More recent ex. Were you so let's go through the when after the divorce and all of that, which it's curious. I was when you were talking, I was thinking, I wonder how many couples therapist, like, I wonder how many therapists have the experience of someone coming in and wanting to fix the entire relationship on their own, and then they get to the realization that, oh wait, this I can't fix this. It's gonna take the two of us, but the second person doesn't want to be involved. So I think that's a very common experience. But sorry, that was just a side note. But after the divorce and all of that was done, how were you coping with that? Were you going out and seeking, you know, other like another partner? Were you looking for that, or were you isolating? How were you dealing with the divorce after it happened when you were at that lowest point?
I was trying to distract myself. I
Okay.
was drinking a lot
Hmm.
and I did some stupid stuff. You know,
As we do.
yeah, we're only humans, right?
Yes,
Uh,
exactly.
but I was trying to numb the pain, you know? I just look back now and then I see that I would, I don't have any family here in the UK. And it was just my mother on the other side of the phone, my friends back in Brazil, my friends here as well. And I'm very grateful for all of them. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. Um, but it was difficult because I was seeing him implode as well. And I'm the sort of person
Mm.
that I'm a bit of a fixer. I always try to fix him, not fix him, not that I'm perfect or anything like that, but you're trying to be there for the person. This person's hurt, and you're trying to like, okay, let me put my hurt aside and then cater to this person's needs. But in the process, you end up hurting yourself even more.
And
So
resenting the other person too, because typically they're not that's so hard because you have such good intentions to help them, but they're not in a position to be helped, especially by you. And so
yeah,
then they're not doing anything that you're trying to help them do. And so then you feel resentful, and
yeah,
it's just like a lose-lose game in those circumstances.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I noticed that like once I check out, I can't check in again.
Hmm.
I tried and I tried and I tried and I tried. And then, I checked out completely. And it was it was very painful to see my ex-husband, you know, dealing with that so badly. I wanted to be there for him, but I didn't want to hurt myself anymore. So I had to actually be like, how now you have to look after yourself.
Yeah. And
Um,
real quick, and I assume he wanted to get back together. You said he didn't take it well.
I really don't know because like at one point I had to stop. So then we're living in the same apartment, by the way. Um, I had to actually stop interacting with him because he was being just erratic.
Yeah.
I was actually at one point scared for my safety that I will get into my room and then I will lock the door because
Wow.
I don't know, like he was going around um, talking crap about me to mutual friends and stuff like that, and um, it was just very hard. And he was sending me abusive emails as well, and then I wanted to say something, but I was just like, no, you checked out.
Which is honestly I mean, it's a good thing, I think, for you, also for him in the long run. I think that's one thing that we don't, when we think, oh, I'm cutting this other person out and I'm hurting them so much. Yes, they're probably hurt, but ultimately you not being there for them to what's the saying that someone said? Oh, being the co-captain of the Titanic kind of a thing. Like you don't want to, by not doing that, you're ultimately going to be helping them too. Even
Yeah,
though it is hard if you're with someone for, 13 years and you see them struggling, of course there's going to be so many heartstrings that are pulled on that you feel like you should jump into that. But I think checking out is the right thing to do in that. And it does, and it probably finally allowed you to really start focusing on your pain, which, isn't necessarily a good thing. And, you took the route of distracting and numbing, which so many of us do. There's no perfect way to go through a breakup. So when so let's start going, like, how did the second relationship start? Did it happen super quick?
it happened about I'm gonna say 8 or 9 months after
Okay,
I
which isn't
broke up.
necessarily that fast.
Okay,
Yeah.
but because I was still living with my ex,
Oh, yeah, that makes it much more complicated. Yeah.
yeah, and then um I just I wasn't well, I just wasn't well, and I knew that. So I'm like, okay, let me just get some distraction. Let me just distract myself. Um, and then yeah, I met this guy, very handsome, charming, and older as well. I think it was like he was 8 years older.
Hmm.
Um, there were red flags everywhere since the very beginning.
Okay.
Like and I've been reading a lot about this sort of stuff. When you think they mysterious, oh, I
Yes.
thought he was mysterious or whatever, but in actuality, they're just emotionally unavailable.
Yeah.
So, but at the beginning, I thought like, oh, he's so mysterious, so I can't really read him, whatever. I thought it was like kind of sexy and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was one of the first red flags.
Did you notice that? But that's the hard thing because now you're going back and connecting all the dots. Could you, like, what could you see that? You couldn't see that in the moment, though, right? I mean, you could see that they were mysterious, but it wasn't like, oh, they're emotionally unavailable, but I'm moving forward anyway.
Oh no, I didn't have
Yeah.
that discernment back
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
because I
That's why
was
I feel like it's important that like you give yourself the credit because you said like I allowed this to happen, but you also didn't have all the information that you have now. So
absolutely
you got to be graceful with yourself on that.
very that because like I'm still trying to be as forgiving as possible with myself because it's about me. So then one of the other red flags was like on our second or third date. It was a gathering with his friends in his house, and they were all doing drugs. So I'm like, I don't do drugs.
Hmm.
I despise drugs. I don't like it. And he didn't even have like the decency to ask me, like, hey, do you do drugs? Like, there's gonna be drugs in my
Was
house
that
or
your
something like that.
thing?
No,
Yeah.
it was just that. It was just that. So, and I'm like, okay, let me play cool because um during the first breakup, my ex he was saying that I was controlling. So I had that in my head, and I'm like, okay,
Mm,
be controlling, aka don't set boundaries. Now I know I should have set the boundaries,
yeah.
but I did. Then a few weeks later, we go to by the way, when you're dating someone and then you kind of like little by little, you bring the walls down and
Yeah.
then you show a little bit of your vulnerability. And, I told this guy, that I got cheated on. Oh, I forgot about the cheating from the first relationship. Oh,
A big
oopsie.
element.
Just a little detail. Just a little detail. I think I mentioned when I said an indiscretion that,
Discretion. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured.
yeah, it was cheating. And he cheated after that, whatever. So I I had trust issues. And I told the second guy, hey, I got cheated on. It's something that I'm working on. I was doing therapy and I was like really trying to not get my insecurities and my baggage leaking into this new relationship.
Hmm.
Um, Fine. He understood, whatever. Then we went to this house party. He got absolutely off his face and started like accusing me of like flirting with other guys or going to the
Hmm.
bathroom with other guys, whatever, cheating. So that was this, like, he grabbed my vulnerability and weaponized against me.
Yeah.
That was a huge red flag. But it was towards Christmas and I didn't want to be alone.
Yeah. The holidays are tough. Holidays are
Absolutely.
tough. There was one thing you said that I've just never realized before, and I'm so glad you brought it up. But this concept of your ex said this about you, and so then you trying so like your ex said that you were controlling. So you
Yeah.
were doing everything in your power to not be controlling in this. And I think so many people go through that in relationships. Like it's happened to me more so on the neediness scale, but someone said that I'm a lot and I'm needy. So then in the next relationship, I'm like, I have no needs. I don't need anything. I'm just going to go with the flow and not ask for anything. But that doesn't work either. But I think so many people go through that. And if you don't take the time to heal the part of you that was told that you're controlling, even though you being controlling was probably like, don't cheat on me. And they're like, you're being controlling, So it's like, I think that's a really important element of healing that needs to take place so you don't overcompensate for it in the next relationship.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I thought this is gonna it could hurt this potential relationship.
Hmm.
But in the process, I end up hurting myself because I
Yeah.
didn't set strong boundaries. So this type of behavior of getting like off his face and accusing me of cheating happened about like 5 or 6 times. And I remember it will reduce me to tears because I will get very triggered
Hmm.
and I will even question my integrity. I'm like, am I a cheater like my ex-husband? Am I, it was very messed up
Yeah.
that someone saw someone as vulnerable as I was, and then weaponized my pain against me. It was like, but looking back now, this person was like a high functioning coke addict.
Mm. Yeah.
So I really tried to help this person. There were other factors that made him, erratic and not think properly. He I prefer not disclose, but like the drug part of it was the main thing. If you ask me what functioning coke addict will be, someone who does drug when they wake up because they tired from the night before, someone who's taking coke to get some energy to clean the house, someone who's done coke at baby shower, someone who's done coke at a family barbecue. So someone who keeps doing coke, even though the way that he acts it's hurting his partner. So
Yeah.
it is a very you know I tried to help, and then he started doing therapy, but I was like, yeah, a few months later I could see nothing was changing really. So I
Yeah.
thought, like, are you even being honest with the therapist? Like, I don't think so. um I really tried to actually like break up with him several times.
Was he like, so was he saying that he was going to quit and then he just didn't?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There was a lot of like talking
Yeah.
but not doing,
Yeah.
which is what they do, to keep you around.
Mhm.
I now I see it. It's, dare I say, abusive.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the people that are involved with addicts, it is like this cycle of abuse of I promise I'm gonna get better. And then you start believing that, and then you believe that you want because you want to believe them so bad. Of course, like you wanted to make it work. You wanted to believe in this person, but then they just continued to do the same thing. And it's just such an it's such there's a reason there's like special programs for people who are involved with addicts because it is such a really intense situation to navigate and to deal with. And there's a lot of and it's they play on you know things, they prey on vulnerabilities. And I've seen that happen where they know that you don't want to be by yourself, so they know they can probably get away with more than they could with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Because your sense of judgment is not as good as like someone who's just like completely 100%
Yeah.
there. And I wasn't. The first half, I just didn't set strong boundaries. as things were, I was closing the chapter with my ex-husband. We sold the house, we did everything, you know, I was starting to gain my strength a little bit more. Just like it happened with my first relationship when I started doing therapy to save my marriage,
Hmm.
it was the same thing. I put the glasses on and I could see properly. I'm like, this is not right. That's not right. And I started like trying to set stronger boundaries. That's when they don't like it.
Yeah.
When like this is not right. You cannot treat me like this. Oh, but I could get away with this before. Why can I get away with this now?
Yeah.
Well, because now I'm saying so. This is a boundary that I should have set ages ago,
Yeah.
and it wasn't being respected. I also made the mistake of like moving in with him
Okay.
because it was the easiest option. From my previous house, instead of like having to look for a house and whatever. And I was having issues with work, and it was just like, you know what? It's the easiest thing to do. That's when, everything started like, going left,
Yeah.
you know.
So what was the breaking point for you to walk away from him?
It was when I'm very inquisitive and I will ask questions like here and there, and I will keep like putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and then that's the scenario. I came from like a long-term relationship before, and I really know how to actually. And I had a breakup before, so I had to figure things out. So I figured out, according to like putting the piece of the puzzle together, that he was doing to me what an ex of his did to him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Apparently he had like this relationship years ago. It was very short-lived, but apparently it was very impactful. And um as I was like asking questions and stuff, like a lot of the things were making sense. When the ex like blocked him and shut him out, whatever. He used to like shut me out a lot. He would change. When he started doing therapy, apparently he was like diagnosed with like relationship OCD, even though his relationship was a 2-month relationship. So I find it like, it's very contradictory for sure. Then I tried to help him with that. But then looking back, I wasn't being helped as well. I have issues with anxiety, PTSD, just came from a really long-term relationship that crumbled down right
Hmm.
before. So the same grace wasn't being extended to me.
Yeah.
And then at one point, I was just like, why am I doing this? And I
Mhm.
tried to break up. That was when I actually left the house, and then and then he said, "Oh, we're gonna do therapy together. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that." Da da da. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna leave you with this, and you're gonna have to show me the willingness."
Good for
I
you.
already, I already knew, but to be honest, I was just buying time to actually find a place to stay.
Hmm.
And then I went back to his house, and then we did a therapy session together. And then there was no willingness. That everything went back to normal. I said, "You're gonna go back to doing drugs," and no, I told you. I was like, "Wow, you said it before." So yeah, then I finally broke up with him. And the thing is like the sexual tension, the sexual chemistry was there.
Yeah.
So it can actually really like cloud your sense of judgment.
100%. Yes, it is. I mean, it can completely hijack your brain.
Yeah. And that was the case. Um, so much that, 2 days before I left, I slept on the sofa, and then he was like, "No, come and sleep. I'm in bed." And I was like, "No,
Yeah.
no," because like, we were not okay, like, emotionally, but physically, it was, yeah, that
Yeah.
was like a sexual chemistry.
I mean, I think that keeps people connected with exes for long past their expiration date.
Yeah,
I remember reading it in like Cosmopolitan magazine growing up of like how good sex with an ex is, because it's so, I mean, you have that history, there's the tension there. It's kind of this forbidden thing because you shouldn't be doing it. But then that like loops you right back in if you aren't aware of it, all of a sudden you're like back in the relationship. So I know that's another very common experience. And because there's so many things that weren't working, but that one thing could still be working. So that's great that you recognized it and, took the power back in that way.
Yeah, like you know, when I left, it was horrible, because he was very, very coward. Like he was like, really, he didn't even come to the house for me to say, goodbye. Because I was like, you know what? Was I angry when I broke up with him? Yes, I was. It was completely my right to be angry. It was my right to be angry because I felt taken advantage of. I felt lied to. I felt, you know, I just thought like, who does this? You know what I mean? Who sees someone who, because I remember so many times I will ask him like, crying, like, why are you doing this to me? Are you even ready for a relationship? If you're not, let me go. So he kept me around,
Mm-hmm.
even though he knew he couldn't give me what I deserved.
Yeah.
So it was horrible. Like the exit. I haven't seen him since. You know, he was blabbing about, I can be a good boyfriend, but I can be a good friend. Nah, you
Yeah.
know, thank you very much because my friends, they wouldn't do such thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to, if you're thinking about being friends with an ex, you would have to hold them to the same standard that you would your best friends, which almost no one can do that. And I always like to say I have enough friends that haven't broken my heart. I'm okay, you know?
Absolutely.
So that's great that you're able to hold that boundary. And so after this, what was that pain like? Because I feel like that was probably just, it felt like you were hit by a train, because it was this breakup plus the stuff that you didn't necessarily deal with from your marriage.
Yeah. I mean, it was November leading to the holidays. Um, it was um like I can't even describe, everything bubbled up and then it was cold, it was miserable here, it was gray. It was just like, I was in my friend's house. He was like amazing to actually, I was like behind the scenes, I was like, please, I need to be somewhere. And then I got my friend to drive the van, and then, I broke up with him on a Thursday. By Saturday, I was out. He probably thought I was bluffing, but I I'm a man of my word, unlike him.
Yeah.
I'm a man of my word. When I check out, I check out. When I say I'm leaving, I'm leaving. And then looking back now, I just think like, wow, how you were like courageous. And my friends, they say that like you did what was best for you because you did before and you did it now. That is how strong and resilient you are. I just, was it painful? It was excruciatingly painful, you know. But I I'm very grateful that, I wasn't alone for Christmas. I had my friends coming over. We had a great Christmas. I had my cats as well with me. But it was painful. It
Yeah.
was very painful.
I'm so glad you can recognize that, and that your friends helped you recognize the courage that's required. And it's I think people can be really hard on themselves when a relationship ends and there's this sense of, oh, I should have set these boundaries earlier, I should have left earlier. And then you find yourself similar-ish kind of situation again. I think a lot of people beat themselves up. This happens a lot when people are coming out of toxic relationships, is they find themselves in something else. But the thing is, there were 13 years in your marriage, and there was less, like almost not even a
Yeah,
year in this
a
one.
year. A
So
year.
if we look at that progress, that's huge to be able to say, no, 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 I don't need to wait to see this any clearer. I see it very clearly now. This is not going to get any better. This is not serving me. I'm putting so much into this. I'm not getting what I deserve out of it. So I'm going to walk away. That's huge to be able to, recognize that so much earlier on.
Thank you. Thank you. And that is also what I tell everyone as well when I have like a couple of friends going through breakups as well. I have one friend who who's still in between, and then it's very easy for people to tell other people in relationships, like abusive relationships, like tell them like just leave.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's not that easy. You are so caught up. You still like, especially in your brain, just like, no, but he said that he's gonna change. And I'm like, babes, that's what they say. They say they're gonna change, but words like talk is cheap. Show me the action. Show me the willingness. Is it showing the willingness? Then you need to leave. Use this time to heal. I'm here for you. Like, this is like, what I made also like my mission as well. Like, I want to have, like, hence why I wanted to be here. I
Yeah.
wanted to tell other people, don't be hard on yourself. I still am hard on myself every now and then for, the time that I wasted, and why did I see this before or whatever? But then I'm like, how? You were trying to be happy, and you're trying to help someone who is so broken beyond that, and you forgot about yourself.
Yeah.
So I got lost in the process, but I'm back. It happens. We might be driving and go off the road, but then we'll go back, and that's all that matters.
That I love that you said that. It's such a beautiful point. No one goes into a relationship saying, okay, I'm going to enable a drug addict. I'm going to be cheated on. No one sets out for that. Exactly what you said. They set out to be happy and in love. And then things happen, and we have no control over other people. We only have control over ourselves. And it takes us time to learn things. It's no one's placed on this planet knowing exactly what they want out of a partner or exactly what they deserve out of a relationship. It's not something we're taught in schools. We have our parents to model it, but depending on where the family that you came from might not be the best kind of example for you. So we do have to give ourselves so much grace to go off the road and the chance to come back. And I hope what you are able to, dealing with the trust issues from the marriage, I hope you can recognize that you did trust yourself very well in that second relationship. When you realized it was time to go, you're like, I'm getting a lot of conflicting information from the partner. I'm hearing a lot of different things, but I know in my gut that this is not working. And that's
Yeah,
that's trust. That's how you learn that's trusting yourself. And that's how you'll be able to trust other people in the future, because you are able to trust yourself.
absolutely. And to see the red flags and run,
Yeah.
you know, so you are like, knees deep, because it's really important to trust your gut instinct. It's really important to, like, I'm 38 years old, and I'm gonna get someone my age or a little older, whatever. Like, we all grown people, and I believe that at some point we have to get, like, you have to grow up.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
take
that's
accountability, without beating yourself up. But yeah, it's important to take accountability and realize, okay, I have the ability to change this. And, no one's going to come in and change this person for me, or no one's going to put a perfect person in front of me. It's something that I have to do and make changes in order to reach.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I really, I was listening to your podcast at the very beginning. You're talking about the no contact rule, and it really, really helped me.
Oh, good.
Because the whole month of December, he was still contacting me, whatever. It wasn't really helping me. There was like, there was a lot of like breadcrumbing, what people call,
Yeah.
that was like, the lack of vulnerability that I could see in this last relationship, and I could see it, and I told him when I left. That's when he decided to show the vulnerability through text messages. Like I said before, talk is cheap.
Yeah.
And I was still in that mind. I'm like, oh my God, he's being vulnerable, whatever. But my friends were like, wake up, wake up. Talk is cheap. You gave him too many chances. And it was just like a lot of that, me like just giving him chances was also like a little bit of part of me who thought that I didn't try hard enough in my marriage. So that was a lot of projection, to be honest.
That is something, another great point that you have raised. I know this personally with friends of mine who have gone through failed relationships. They stick it out so much longer in relationships that are not serving them because they have this guilt that they weren't able to make their marriage work or their first relationship work. So they will stay in stuff that's no longer serving them for a very long time because they haven't let go of that guilt or shame for not being able to make the first thing work. And they forget that it takes two people to make a relationship work. And sometimes a relationship ending is not a failure. It's two people that just are not compatible
Yeah,
together. So that completely makes sense why you were questioning, okay, am I giving up too early? I think that's probably what a lot of people deal with is, am I giving up on this person when they're trying? Maybe they are finally ready to do this, when in reality, it's just usually something that's trying to pull you back in, and then they're going to do the exact same thing over again.
yeah, very that. It
Yeah.
was very that. And I'm very grateful for these experiences, looking back now, because it made me like, who I am now. And I'm still healing. I'm still doing my therapy, and I still surround myself with great people, which is very important. These things are very important when you're healing. Listen to the Heal Your Heartbreak podcast as well. Um, um, these things like, it's they take time, but just like you said so many times, we will heal. Like, we'll get to the other side. And, sometimes it gets hard. Some days, like, you keep on thinking and you keep on like, ruminating over some scenarios and, from both relationships, you know what I mean? Um, but I just picture myself just giving myself a hug and how it's gonna be all right. It's
Yeah.
gonna be okay. You have your cats, you have your friends, you have yourself, you know, and those experiences, like, they made me stronger.
Yeah,
And
they weren't a waste.
absolutely. And um they're gonna lead me to a healthier and better version of me, and meeting someone who's going to be there for me and who deserves me.
Yeah. And the fact that you were able to find that comfort in your friends, which I'm sure at first it's your friends, but then you start finding it within yourself, then you're not vulnerable to someone just coming in and swoop and like needing to save you from a sense of loneliness or whatever that looks like. So the fact that you're able to find that intimacy with friends and with yourself, then you're not, you will be so much better able to discern when a good partner has come into the picture.
Absolutely. It's really important to heal before you start dating. And it's all right to actually still be. I think you just have to be, in my opinion, that is what I'm trying to do. Is I just have to like watch out for these red flags, and to set strong boundaries from the very beginning, because it's really important. The same way that you want the other person to set boundaries with you. So then, because you meeting another person, good communication, emotional availability. You know, these things, these are all things that they're important. I'm not settling for less. I'm not settling for less at all. You know, I have like, you know, these things. Like, I don't care about the physical. Of course, like, he needs to like, you know, look up for himself.
We need some of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it has to be mind, body, and soul. All
Yeah.
right. I need someone who's going to be well rounded. The same way that I'm trying to, you know, look after myself in every single way. I think it's really important. And then just like I said, so that you're not vulnerable and then the wrong person comes in and then that happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, your story turned on so many, like gave me so many light bulb moments. So I'm so appreciative that you came on and shared your story and I think your message is I love how forgiving you are of yourself and how much grace you've given yourself. I know that's taken a lot of work to get there, but I think that's so important and sets such a good example for anyone listening here, and that you're able to own your stuff, but in a really kind and loving way. And I think that's beautiful. And I'm so glad you came on, and I'm really excited for what comes next for you, because if you're being aware and mindful, every relationship is such a major upgrade. So, I think that's what's in store for you is a major upgrade.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Like I think also like forgiveness is really important.
Yeah.
Not for them, but for you.
Yes. A
You
hundred
know,
percent.
letting go is extremely important. You know, you letting go and you just like don't carry this anger and resentment within you. You know, let go, you know, look after yourself. It's just
Learn
really,
from it and let it go. That's the number one thing. Learn from it and let it go.
yeah, absolutely. I agree. Forgiveness is really important.
Well, Hal, thank you so much. This was incredible, and I'm sure so many people got this, so many teachable moments from this episode and in your story. So, thank you again for sharing.
Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful that you allowed me to be in your podcast. Like I've been inspired, and I hope you'll keep inspiring other people. And I hope my story can help inspire other people as well. So thank you very much.
I have no doubt that it will. So, thank you again.